Mm-hmm. Ah. So somebody watching that, it looks like I just ate a pill which I found on my desk. I do know what the pill is, and it was intentional. I just forgot I'd left it there. Sup kids, how are you doing today? You may have noticed recently that I made a mistake. I know, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I feel like I have to address it. Don't know why, have to point out my own mistakes. It's like something which I've always had to do. I have to sit there and go, oh, this happened. Let's address that. I did it with Pancake Day. I did it straight away with Pancake Day. Someone pointed out that I'd made a spelling error, and I jumped in and said, "Oh, hey, well, I guess I gotta claim it. I gotta claim all my mistakes. I can't leave a mess I made, right? I just can't. There's no way around it. I can't make a mess and then just palm it off to somebody else. I'm extremely uncomfortable with it. It's why I suck at going to restaurants and staying in hotels. I have to tidy up. I'm there in a hotel, putting stuff in bins, wiping down surfaces, rinsing the sink, rinsing the shower. I can't just shower and then walk away. I just can't do it. And it's the same with everything else, right? I make a mistake, I claim it as my own, I take it on as my responsibility, and away I go. This is why I could never be a parent. I'd never be able to let go. I introduce a mistake to the world. I'm gonna be there for the entire time. I can't die at that point. I'd have so much unfinished business, because what if that kid goes on to do something awful? What if that kid goes on to do something great? I want to be there. I've gone off tangent already. I feel like that's my key to doing things recently, is just going on tangents. I'm on quite a few tangents right now. You may or may not know I have a few tangents right now. So the first tangent I'm on is I've just released my comic, and that happened. It took me some time, took me time to create, took me time to put together, and I introduced that and released that into the world. I'm sure there's spelling mistakes in it. I'm sure there's grammar mistakes in it. Those are the realities of that, and when they happen and people point them out, I will claim them as my own. By the time you see this, I will have been on the tangent of going and doing Null Point in another city, in San Diego, hopefully, with a Zine Fest, and this is the first one I've done since I moved to the US, and that's another tangent. I'm also currently in the middle of doing other things, and yet, I seem completely calm about the whole situation. I always seem kind of completely calm about all situations. This is something which, I know about myself, but maybe I didn't realize how apparent it was to everybody else. Which is, it's not really a problem. It's just a reality check. People say I'm hard to read. I think I'm very easy to read. I think I am. But that's because I think I'm easy to read, because people should take me at face value, right? They should accept the version of me which I present to them when I meet them and when I interact with them. That's how the world should take me. This is the choice I'm giving you. This is the choice you have right now, is to accept me as you see me and accept me as you engage with me, because that is the way I have chosen to engage with you. I recently got told that I'm too relaxed for being human, and I shouldn't be this relaxed for the amount of coffee that I drink. And that made me think, this gave me kind of like a little sideline, which is, I feel like people who drink an excessive amount of coffee fall into one of two categories. They fall into the first category, which is extremely erratic, high anxiety, basically doing themselves, pinging off the walls, hyper vibrating all the time. And another category, which is you drink so much coffee, you've surpassed that, and you're now just so calm that every so often your friends come along and check your pulse to make sure you're not dead. Maybe we're vibrating even quicker. Maybe we're vibrating at such a high frequency that you just can't tell. We're just all a soft blur. That's why people and cats like to sit on us. I've gone very off tangent to what this was meant to be talking about. So currently I'm doing Inktober. It's October. I don't know if it's October when you guys see this. It might be November by the time. I may have had a birthday by this point. Who knows? No, but it's October. I'm doing Inktober once again. I've done Inktober quite a few times. In my lifetime. I think I peaked a couple of years back when I did them up at Inktober, but this Inktober, I took it upon myself to do the little challenge. I don't do the way most people do. I don't do the whole looking at the list of prompts and then drawing the list of prompts. I did that a few years back, probably the first time I did Inktober, but at the time I was doing that, I was doing a 365 where you have to draw every single day. That's a whole other show. But this time around, I took loads of pictures through the last year or so of various locations, and they're kind of more like candid photographs than anything else. They're not, staged photographs. They're more like street photography. But I did them all on my phone, and I chose them specifically because I felt like they were images which I could add to. They were images which I could draw into and add my own illustrations and own ideas. And then I've been drawing things into these real life situations. And that's a challenge for me because I absolutely hate drawing buildings and cars. And these pictures are filled with buildings and cars because I live in New York. So there's no avoiding that, there's no getting around that. But I've been doing that. But what's interesting about that is that I've also been doing my calendar. My calendar is digitally drawn, if you didn't know. I do an initial base sketch, but then I photograph that, and then the rest of it's digital. Inktober, of course, isn't. It's back on pen and paper. And I've had this discussion a few times with people who work digitally and traditionally, and they forget how to do things. And they forget how to, use techniques and skills which they gained through years and years and years of traditional drawing because they moved over to digital drawing. And the classic example is that when you have an image on a digital drawing and you zoom in and you zoom out, right? You undo. You have those tools. Those tools are available to you. But when you switch back over to traditional drawing, you find yourself swiping at the paper like a cat making biscuits, trying to zoom in and out. And it's just not there. You have to move the pad closer to your face. This is why when you're in coffee shops, you see illustrators' heads just bobbing constantly. If you ever see someone who looks like they're a metal show in a coffee shop, they're probably an illustrator. Anyway, I was thinking about this technique and I was thinking about doing sober, and a phrase which has come to mind quite a lot recently is something which I thought we'd jump off with, which is use it or lose it, right? Use it or lose it. This is a phrase, and I think it's a I don't know, it's a pretty American phrase. I don't really remember where it came from, but it's a phrase that use it or lose it, and it can mean many things. It could be if you don't use the things which you're given, the sandwich. If someone hands you a sandwich, hands you a piece of cake, cake's the standard. Someone hands you a piece of cake and you don't eat it, you're gonna lose it. It's gonna go off. It's gonna go to waste, and you're gonna lose it if you don't take the space which you're presented with. If you don't sit in the seat you're given on the subway, somebody's going to take it. There's no way around that. That's just going to happen. There is no protectiveness for you for these things. You either use it or you lose it. And also, I think this applies to other things. I think it applies to skills. I think it applies to life in general. If you haven't cooked in a very long time, it's quite easy to forget some of the basics, right? It's quite easy to forget, the basics of doing things. I was having a thought the other day, and this is a terrible thought, and I don't think I should give it to any of you, but because you might think about this next time you're doing it, and this may jeopardize you. So, fair warning, TM, skip over the next 10 seconds or so. So I was walking down the stairs recently, and I forgot how to walk down the stairs. Or I didn't forget how to walk down the stairs. I overthought walking down the stairs, and I think this can happen to anybody, is that you're walking down some steps, something which you do basically every day, something you've done your entire life, you're 34 gram, and you're walking down some steps, and midway through walking down the steps, your brain suddenly remembers what it's doing and decides, I need to think about this. And the moment you think about it, the moment you think, we're on steps now, we're on a vertical, we're going down, this isn't flat land, we're adjusting our weight in minutiae moments to balance and protect ourselves from falling. The moment you think about it, suddenly you can't walk down the stairs anymore, and you're doomed. You've just doomed yourself. How are you going to get off the stairs now? Because if you think about what you're doing when you're walking down the stairs, you're going to trip on the stairs. I'm just saying. This is why it's dangerous. I don't think you should do it. I don't think you should think about it. And there's a lot of things like that. If you just think about them whilst you're doing them, they become near impossible tasks, and you kind of have to just wipe your brain. It's like riding a bike. People say you never forget how to ride a bike, right? You learn it once you get into it. And the theory of that is that the rhythm of riding a bike is fairly simple. You learn balance. You learn balance and structure, and you pedal around. And once you have that, you have like an inner muscle memory of riding a bicycle. That's fair enough. However, if you overthink riding a bicycle and you remember that you were a human being, meat sack, floating on a single piece of metal, balanced in yourself as you go down the street, suddenly that becomes terrifying because you're overthinking it and you're overthinking everything else which goes into it. And I think the use it or lose it phrase kind of comes into that. It comes into that memory of muscle memory, which is if you're not doing it on a regular basis and you're not engaging with it in a regular basis, it's incredibly easy to lose it, right? I think this is why I like small projects like Inktober. I think this is why I like little attempted challenges and challenging myself within my day-to-day life. I was thinking recently about, so let's skip back 2016. I was in a very different life situation. I was living with my partner. We were in the house which I ended up living in for 10 years, and we were just having a discussion about challenges and stuff. And at the time I was doing YouTube vlogs. I think I was doing YouTube vlogs, maybe. But either way, I was thinking about doing this challenge, and I thought to myself, what if we did a challenge? What if we did a challenge where everything we eat, we make, right? Which sounds ridiculous, right? That sounds like the easiest challenge in that. Everything you eat, you make. Okay, right. So we do that anyway. We cook anyway. This is stupid, Graham. Why are we doing this? This is more or less the conversation we have. What are you talking about? Which is how a lot of conversations with me start. But give me a chance to explain myself, and we'll get there. So everything we eat, we make, and I was like, okay, yeah, but what if we made everything? What if we didn't have cheese? Because we didn't make the cheese. We did this for a month. What if we do this for a month? We do the classic 30 days, the Inktober, the 30 days. 30 days, everything we eat, we have to make. If we want pasta, we're going to have to make pasta. If we want to make bread, we'll have bread, we're going to have to make bread. If we want to have porridge, we're going to have to roll some oats. All these things. And I was like, well, that'd be a great little challenge for 30 days, because I'd learn so much in that challenge, right? I'd learn all these different skills, all these different techniques. It would take some planning. It would take some forethought. It would probably mean I'd never be able to eat butter through that entire period, or cheese, because I guess I could make like a simple ricotta or something with some. Anyway, but it was an idea which I had to myself, and then I suggested it to my partner, and we both realized quickly how impractical that would be, because we have life and jobs and responsibilities, and dedicating ourselves to some sort of holistic, self-sustaining lifestyle for a month, and I think it was winter at the time, just wasn't feasible. Just wasn't feasible. But I like challenges like that. I like little energetic moments to push yourself out your comfort zone, so you learn these skills and you learn these techniques. Because I think once you have that, once you've done it once, you learn a level of it to a degree where you can utilize it again and again. And I think that impacts parts of your day-to-day in ways which you would never imagine. You utilize skills over and over again, which you just completely forget about. Like when you're cooking, when you the way you whisk, the way you stir, the way you take a frying pan and you can do the thing where you flip it back on itself, or anything like that. These are the little skills which you pick up over time and use on a regular basis. It's all about balance and planning and keeping it part of your system. And so I've been sick recently. Long story short, I got sick. And I haven't been to the gym at this stage for about a month now, because I had a friend visiting, and then I had a leak, and I found a mouse in my apartment, and I got sick, and then I went on a trip to San Diego. I just haven't been to the gym, and there's a very real fear in the back of my brain, which is saying, use it or lose it. If I don't go there at some point, I'm going to forget how to run. Running, again, is another one of those things. As soon as you start to overthink it, it becomes a hard task to do. And I think it's an almost human-only trait, right? as a phrase and as an idea, it's a human-only trait that we learn these skills and these techniques, and then we have this drastic fear of losing them and having to relearn those techniques, right? And in some ways we do, regardless of what it is. In some ways we do. If you're not using it on a regular basis, if you're not exercising on a regular basis, if you're not creating on a regular basis, you can easily forget how to engage with that part of your brain and how to push yourself through those periods of relearning. And sometimes all it takes is like a small moment. You know, someone who hasn't drawn in years and years and years can sit down with a sketch pad and within an afternoon relearn all the things which years of muscle memory taught them. The same with painting, the same with sculpting. They can do that. But the anxiety of failing again really impacts you on a heavy level that is almost hard to describe. And I think is unique to the human experience. I don't see dogs freaking out about forgetting how to bark. I don't see, cats forgetting how to hunt, because they have it built in them on a primal level. But also, I don't see them going out of their comfort zone to learn a new technique. It'd be interesting if cats took up crochet, or hamsters suddenly got really into baking bread, and you just saw them. You came past the cage one day, and there's Terry, the hamster, chilling out in his cage, and he's just like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And he's like, "Yeah, not bad. I learned to make sourdough over the weekend." You're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Also, when did you learn how to talk?" "That's a little creepy, Terry. I'm not gonna lie. Also, how was the sourdough?" "Not great. My starter didn't work out exactly how I wanted it to, but we'll get there in the end. Well, everything's a learning experience, and that's what life's all about." I don't know why Terry is extremely balanced as a hamster personality. In my experience, hamsters are erratic. To go back to my coffee analogy, hamsters are usually the ones who are just pinging off the walls, trying to get things done. Just worried about dying, giving themselves a heart attack whilst they worry about dying. Sorry. I think I had a point to make. I think my point to make was that this is one of those moments where this phrase has stuck in my brain and it's told me that I need to think about it. And I realized that literally thinking about this is the most human thing which can happen to a person, right? The fact that we sit and we dwell and we learn, and then we dwell some more, and then we learn, and then we dwell some more, and then we dwell about learning and learning about dwelling, and we get anxiety about the things which we may or may not have done. It's natural, right? Maybe that's all I really want to say. Maybe it's natural. It's simple for you to think about. It's the way we are programmed as beings. It's the way we have evolved. It is, years and years and years of pack mentality and tribal mentality telling us that if we don't do this thing, we die. But the problem is the things which we learnt and the things which we are learning now aren't live or die. It doesn't matter if I learn how to make bread, because somebody else knows how to make bread. That's the benefit of the tribe. And yet, I'm still thinking about buying a bread maker. That's just because I miss my old bread maker. But it's all of that. It's trying to break that mentality and at the same time not become complacent. I don't want to become complacent. I want to keep creating, and I want to keep pushing myself to create further. And the only way I'm going to do that is by changing things I do, exploring different things I do, and engaging with myself. Engaging with the ideas which I have, and saying to myself, we're going to have to learn to fail, Graham. Again. At things which we want to learn to do. Otherwise, we're going to be sat doing the same thing over and over again. Which isn't a bad thing. I just don't think it's the true extent of what is available to me. And I would be remiss if I didn't spend some time exploring those things. But I'd be curious what you guys think, as I always am. I'm curious what skills you've recently learned, or skills you think you've forgotten. And maybe that's the challenge for the rest of the year. We're coming up towards the end of the year. That's going to happen. Maybe December you take a little time and challenge yourself to do something you used to do. Get it in before the new year, so then you can get the fail out of the way, and then the new year you can just absolutely own it. Either way. Something to think on. I'll talk to you guys later.